Our last session today is the task coordination with the ArcGIS system. It is going to be given by Matt Tweetmeyer, the solution engineer team lead for Esri. So quick intro, Matt is a senior solution engineer at Esri, helping local governments do amazing work with location intelligence using the Esri geospatial cloud. Previously, Matt deployed enterprise GIS for the global U.S. Navy Information Technology Center and created and managed the largest spatial database of agricultural crops data in the state of California. Matt has 2 degrees in GIS from Sacramento State and California State University at Northridge. I'll hand it over to Matt. Yeah. Slide forward.
Okay, perfect. Make sure. Thanks, Wade. So yeah, I'm Matt Tweetmeyer. I'm the Solution Engineer Team Lead from Esri. I'm part of the California Regional Team. So if you don't know me, I'm part of the account team for the County of Santa Clara. So I work with Yoko and TSS a lot, but we also work with each individual department because you all have maintenance, software maintenance with us. So I'm a part of that team. I'm a part of a greater regional team that supports California, Hawaii, and Nevada for state and local government. So we have a variety of people, and I'm out of the Sacramento office. We have a nice little satellite office in downtown Sacramento. So our staff is pretty close to Santa Clara, and then we also have our staff in Redlands in Hawaii. So today, last 2 times I talked about AI, which I had a lot of great conversations in the other hall this morning with some folks. I wanted to switch it up this year since I hammered that topic twice for the last 2 years. So I wanted to bring in some of the updates we've had recently with ArcGIS Align and where we're going with tasks. And this centers around the movement from ArcGIS Workforce and going to tasks, which will be in the ArcGIS Field Maps product. So some of you might be using Field Maps. It usually be called Collector. It's our main map-centric data collection mobile application in the field. And so we are integrating that functionality that was in Workforce for ArcGIS, and now it is in Field Maps, and it just came out early last month. And so we had a really good release. We also completely rewrote the Field Maps mobile application, so it's all redone code because you had to upgrade it to the most recent mobile code for, I guess, the industry. And so it was a huge uplift for our team. But the biggest thing is we're moving forward with the same technology, but it's also a lot more flexible. So it's not as rigid. You might have used Workforce in the past. It's that red app. And so it was a dispatcher application, but also a mobile application. And so this is going to simplify deploying it, but then also it's all in one app so that you're not having to go from one app to the next to do task-based workflows. I think the biggest thing here that I want to note on is that I've seen it used in a variety of different government use cases. We're seeing it used for elections. So County of Yolo uses it a lot for election management. We actually have an election going on today. So they're using it for ballot pickups. They're using it for materials and resources to be sent to the ballot locations. We're seeing folks use it to be able to show dashboards of progress, et cetera. It was used heavily during COVID for food bank deliveries during the time. And so I'm seeing it in a lot of different ways used. We have it being used for, I would say, non-emergency 911 calls for people that need help for being able to do those type of workflows. We've seen that in Contra Costa and some other counties. So it's very valuable. And so what I say is, like, for folks that, like, you might go and buy a system to do some of this, like you might have an asset management system or some type of other. Asset management comes up first, right? Because doing work in the field is usually tied to a location, and sometimes it's tied to a physical thing like a water main or a road or any type of other type of building. But sometimes folks don't have the money to buy like a large system that's from another vendor, but they need something to be able to go allocate resources into the field and collect information and put it back in your system of record. So I feel like the task system within ArcGIS is really valuable in that sense, is that you might not have a huge budget to be able to go, do this. So it's something that you already have access to within the platform, and you just need to go and leverage it. So I'll get into it here. So in general, this is where we're moving. And so Workforce is going to go and be Field Maps. The big, I will bring up a couple dates that people should note about if you already have Workforce deployed. We stopped development on Workforce in 2024, so there hasn't been any, enhancements or anything, as we anticipated the development and the beta and the now general release of tasks within ArcGIS field maps. And so in January of next year, we are going to declare that Workforce is deprecated, and we will remove it from ArcGIS Online in Q3 of next year of 2026. And then it will be removed from ArcGIS Enterprise 12.2, which will be the following winter of next year, and will be removed from that release. So just for dates, so for those of you that have it deployed, those are some of the dates. It has parity, so all of the, the same functionalities in field map tasks, but it is different, which I'm going to get into in more detail. So we're going to dive into tasks with field maps. So there's a lot of things that field maps can do, but what we're going to focus on today is the task function, the task coordination aspect. So ArcGIS Field Maps, again, is our most complex, most map-centric data collection mobile device app. And so when we're talking about tasks, this capability is going to be built into the Field Maps Designer, so you'll be making a tasks feature service. That's how it's going to work. So everything that's in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, it's generally a feature service. It's your data. And so you're able to then create a tasks layer that you can critique and configure and modify the schema as much as you want. So the drawback of Workforce was we had a very rigid schema. We essentially said, like, this is what you get. You get this schema and you can use it, but you can't modify it. And that didn't work for some of my customers. They wanted to be able to add fields that would enhance the experience of in the field collection or being able to do the job. And that, unfortunately, that rigidness, ended up being a challenge for some of them. Some of them, they just kept on using it, but some decided that they didn't want to use it because they weren't able to add the stuff. And sometimes folks just, they didn't like the schema, like, what our domain was, like what the particular selections were. But why we came up with this now is that it's dynamic, and essentially you can create whatever hosted task layer that you want. So it follows, there is certain schema fields that you have to have that enable the task functionality within the app, but what you want to have in that task schema is up to you. So you can create whatever type of lists of particular domains you want in there, the different sorting, the different filters. So what's great is it has all the same functionality before, but you have way more ability to enhance it and critique it to what your department or your agency needs. So it allows it to be incredibly flexible, which I think is going to be universally well received because of how rigid the previous product was. And so I'm going to show an example here. This is a mobile worker view, and essentially there's a soil testing site. You can see now that you can actually use polygons and lines as a task layer instead of just points where we were supported before. You're going to have your task items and details, so you can set up the pop-up to be what you want people to see. You can see that we just started the task, and let's say the job's being done outside, and we're going to take a couple notes, and then we're going to click submit and say that the task has been completed. In this case, it was a dig for a soil testing site. So you click finish, and essentially the polygon in the map will turn green, just like it did before, where it was like red, or yellow, and green. It's now going to be able to support polygons and lines, which I think is great because points was the only option before. So the other thing that we've enhanced that wasn't in the previous model was that you can, in the field, grab unassigned tasks or assign tasks to yourself if you're a mobile worker. So in the past, you had to have the dispatcher from the office or from a device connected to the dispatcher view to be able to assign work. So now, if you're an engineer or a mobile worker in the field, you can go and assign yourself tasks in the field, so you don't necessarily have to call your supervisor to collect work or to add work to your overall to-do list. So what's great is that this person can ad hoc add that to their list in case somebody went home sick or there was work in the area that they were in, so that they could pick up work and be able to finish more. So just an example of how you can assign yourself work in the field, which was something that was heavily requested by users. So I want to talk about working with the tasks. So essentially what you need to do is there's a new functionality in the Field Maps Designer. So you enable a tasks layer, and you'll define the task type. So that allows you to create filters of what type of tasks people need to do. who's assigned to that task layer. So essentially, the assignees is before you would add all your users into that group, into that a particular workforce project, and essentially those people would be able to, use the mobile app in the field. Now, essentially in the field maps area, you'll essentially have the assignees group, and so it'll have you connected to your users within your portal, and you essentially can just add as many users or whoever you need to within that group. You can then enhance it, so essentially you can enhance tasks, like you can enhance your general field maps workflow, so form, pop-up, actions, those are available because you have the ability to build on top of the foundation that field maps already has. And then you can share it with that map, and then you're ready to go. And so we can think of the task lifecycle as you can create, you can assign, have a dispatcher, you can then do the work, you can observe, and then you can create. So it's a cycle where you can tweak this as you want, which, like I said, is great for the fact that it's not as rigid anymore. So you can change it over time, you can tweak it, you can see what works, and then you can be able to modify it over time as your field workflows progress, and you can see how you can take our products to the next level. And so enabling tasks, so in here we have the new task enable feature layer. So you go in and click that radial button, and you can create one from scratch. Usually you might just do that right off the bat because you want to create your own schema, not take something from somebody else. You can also use existing referenced or hosted layers that you already have, and you can make them a task-enabled layer. So let's say it has data in there that you want within that, so you can essentially just add the required fields to make it task-enabled. So that's also an option. So you can kind of take a schema that you've already built, so you can save time. And so in here, we're going to see the map designer view. We're going to click on this sign works project, and we're going to sign in. This is where you're going to be able to create that task layer. So it says, hey, do you want to add it? So you click the add layers button, and then you have that create layers or managing content. So you're going to create a layer, and then it's going to open up this, and you're going to essentially create that layer type. You're going to say sign tasks. And then you're going to be able to click whether it's a point, line, or polygon, which again is new functionality. It used to just be points. And then you're going to click next. And then in here, you can then dictate a lot of stuff that has to do with the task layer. So, will tasks be created and assigned to mobile workers? Will you be using a high accuracy GPS unit with this workflow? Will there be 3D spaces modeled or analyzed? And then will there be also relative location? So there's a couple different radio buttons that you can choose from based off of your workflow. So then the task layer is created, and then you can see the schema over here, right, where you have the fields that are the required fields for the task layer, but you're going to be able to tweak those as needed with those schemas. And then this is actually enabling it with an existing layer. So instead of making it from scratch, you go and select your hosted feature layer, the soil site one, and essentially it will then allow you to create a tasks layer on top of that already hosted feature layer. So essentially it'll take the default configuration and you can apply it and then now assign those task values to that particular hosted feature layer that was already created. So either way, you could do it from scratch or you can do it from an existing layer within the field maps designer. So this is the schema. I think this is the most important slide of anything. I like the demos, but this is what people want to see when they're trying to design this. So this is the information model. We used to have this, again, same model with workforce, but it was rigid. You couldn't modify it. But these are the 3 fields that will populate when you turn on that tasks layer type, right? And then again, there's the schema that you can use within it. So what's great is you can define the type of work. So again, not every department's going to have the same type of assign message or the complete or whatever the type of values you want. You can create that aligns with your department's workflows, and you can extend it. So you can add or remove fields that are non-required, and you can customize the field values. I think was the biggest thing. Is some people were like, well, you have 5 values for the tasks completion thing. We really only want a couple. We want open and closed, and it wasn't available before. So again, you can tweak all this, and then you can enable editor tracking and have it sync. So if you're going offline, you can use that for the supported hosted or reference feature services. So in this demo, we're going to configure some fields within the task layer. You can see here some of those. And so you can come in here and list the values. If you're familiar with ArcGIS Online, creating domains, you can just create them from scratch within the Maps Designer or within the Map Viewer data experience. So this would be the same thing. You could do this in ArcGIS Pro because you could, essentially enable the task layer and then modify it in Pro as well. But essentially, you can create your coded value domain for each task type just from within the interface. So it saves time. So you can be able to just come in here and do that. And then it's going to click zip, and then it'll update. Yep. Okay. I think we moved on. And so it's all context driven. So you can see like over here, the value, whatever you put in the schema, it's going to show up here. So if it's start, if it's, you can pick up, you can start, essentially it's unassigned. So you can pick up work, you can start that work, and then the experience of your mobile worker, all of that in the in progress area, the pop-up and everything, that's up to you. Whatever you want the person to see, how that pop-up works, what information's being pulled in there, what hyperlinks you want them to do. Do you want them to attach documents or photos or video, et cetera? All of that is up to you. You can do whatever you want within that. And it's gonna build off of that task layer. And then when you can complete, it's gonna turn green. And then if the work's done, and then that'll update in the database. So everybody that's looking at that same authoritative information will see it back in any apps. So in this one, as far as extending it, you can extend a lot of the task stuff with the already foundational stuff that you can do within field maps. What I mean is you can use elements, logic, calculations that we have built within the field maps authoring ability to be able to change how fields work, be able to do calculations, or hey, I entered this in this field, so then it's going to do this to these other fields, right? So it's that's that smart logic element that you see, in Survey 123. We have it in field maps. So essentially, that allows you to just continue to automate the workflow of the field application, so that it's as automated as possible for that person in the field, so they don't have to see as many fields, or either can make it simplified for their experience, so they only have to click what they need to see and be able to submit that information. So then in the task workflows, what's great is like when you're doing these actions, you can enable editing on fields, specific fields or not specific fields. You can add attachments, you can add notes, you can integrate with other apps and workflows. So the extendability is there as it's always been with the platform. It's just like everything's now in one place. So what's great is, again, there's not another app to jump to. Now you have to have two apps on the same mobile device or iPad. Now it's just one device, one app, and so it's a lot simpler for most of our mobile workers. And then what's great is the task filters is something we've added, which I think is great, is you can group and have filters for folks. So in this case, this is an example of, hey, this is a filter showing all the work that's assigned to me, the assignee. So I'm the mobile worker. Here's all the unassigned work. Here's the completed work in case I need to see that. And then here's my paused work. So you can pause work, right? You can say that I'm going to lunch. And so it's pause. It's in the middle between start and stop, right? Or start and complete, right? So all of these you can be able to make filtered lists for folks. And again, that can be applicable to each workflow that you have as departments. So it just depends on the mobile workflow, but you can essentially make custom lists based off the schema that you want. And so to do more text, we're going to talk about advanced workflow. So the big here that I want to get at is that you can, integrate this across the platform. You can integrate it with other business systems. So, right, we integrate with other CMMS systems, asset management systems, any type of system where you can integrate that with those business systems, being able to take that data from field maps and in the task layer and send it to those other systems, right? We integrate with a lot of different partners of ours that are vendors. The biggest thing is that the hugest change is like, because we wanted to make it so flexible, we don't have a dispatcher app that like the previous app. So like what that allows you to do is you as the creator or the person that's going to be the person responsible for this, you can create any app you want to allow people to assign work or to manage that or filter it. So what we've seen is like you could do that in essentially an experience builder app and create whatever kind of filtering and workflow that you want. I think that's great because then you can customize it and configure it the way that your department and your workflow is compared to where we just offered you the dispatcher view in the past. And it had some great tools, but it was, again, it was really rigid and it didn't even have a base map switcher. So I was always very critical of our development team because I was like, we have this app, but you guys can't even allow anybody to change the base map. What if it goes from it goes from daytime to nighttime and they want to switch it to a dark map because it's dark outside, so like we weren't even able to do that within the previous app. So I think this allows you to have a greater flexibility in going, okay, we don't have a dispatcher app that Esri's giving us like up front. Let's go create one that works for us. And so you can essentially make an experience builder, any type of other application template that we have within Esri to go and assign work. So all it is like, if you want to assign stuff in bulk, you essentially create a select tool within Experience Builder, allow people to select multiple let's say, a task assignments, and then assign that to a person. Again, that person's just a value in the table. So as long as you have the assignees all set up, you can essentially do stuff in bulk if you needed to click. What I like about that is our tools in Experience Builder and some other apps are more sophisticated, whether that's the map viewer or within Experience Builder to do selecting and doing batch updates than the other one was. It was, like I said, it was really rigid, but you're able to augment and essentially integrate with a lot of different systems. So essentially, like I was saying, you can integrate this with a bunch of different existing systems. So you can write Python scripts, you could use Power Automate within Microsoft to be able to have tasks update other systems, to be able to keep track of stuff. Because you might like our mobile app and to be able to go update that information in the field because it's most user-friendly and usable and flexible. And so I want to talk a little bit about the roadmap before wrapping up. It is the replacement of workforce, I already said that, but like, I think the biggest thing that I want to get at is that it's, start leveraging it, go play with it. There's a lot of stuff that we have in workforce we have in field maps that we didn't have in the workforce app. We have geofencing now in field maps, so it can detect how close you are to the asset or the location you're trying to get to and give you an alert. Geofencing can be based off a lot of different things. You can use polygons, you lose location to be able to do that. We have indoor, mapping now. So we have floor aware, we have indoor mapping, so that's really good for internal, inside building maintenance or tracking of people, or in general, being able to do indoor edits of a data model. That can apply to a lot of different things. And then being able to access it and edit it. So the experience is great, and that's why we didn't build, again, a specific app for the dispatcher view. We allow it to be flexible so you can take it and do what you want with it based off of your department needs. So the thing that I want to note is that we have ArcGIS solutions those are template-based workflows and Esri supported team that essentially does certain, like in this case, we make them for state and local government. We have 4 task-based enabled solutions that are going to be built, which I think are going to be good to look at. You can take them as inspiration. You can look at the schema. You can look how they're configured, and you can use that to your advantage and how you want to do your tasks. But essentially, in the November release, which is coming up, I think later this month, I think it's going to be at the end of the month, we're going to have election management, electric distribution inspections, gas leak, and then stormwater. Again, those might not be applicable to some of the departments here, but the template might be where you can look at how the tasks was created, what does the schema look like, how is it set up, how is the pop-up set up. You can use that as inspiration and go take a look at it, deploy it in your org, and then see what you like and then take it for your own use. But these are the first solutions that task will be enabled within the solution that prior used workforce in the past. And so we're really excited. We also have, this is already outdated, but we have more and more field maps, task trainings going on, whether it's a seminar or it's already pre-recorded and it's online. It's in our Esri Academy database. You can go search it and watch it. And so let's see, I think I have one more. And then, yeah, any questions? Sorry, that's the last one. Yeah.
Could you describe how the app,
Yep.
Hi, can you describe how the app knows the connection from the user of the mobile app to the assigned work?
Yeah. So because everything's in that field maps designer, essentially you bring your map in and then you enable it to be in field maps, like it knows it's a field map, right? And then you have to enable tasks, and then it knows that tasks is going to be a functionality within that mobile map experience, whatever that is. And then if I'm the mobile user, it's important that when you do the assignee, essentially you're going to have to share the map anyway with the people you want, but essentially for them to be a value in that list of people to be able to do the work, you have to make sure that you add them to that assignee field and that domain. As long as you do that, then they can see their name or it'll come up within the system, but it'll work to make sure that they can be able to edit and assign themselves work. But essentially that's how it all works, is as long as you have that schema all set up and they have access to see the map, obviously, then everything should be it's connected. So it should be pretty painless for them. It's more just setting that task layer up to the way that you want it to be set up. And again, that's going to take a little bit of, I think it's, again, I'm making it maybe look too easy. There's a little bit of a learning curve just to get used to that design interface. I know some people have already started using it, but just getting used to like what the schema you want it to be compared to like what we offered in the past and how you want those values to work, I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, it's pretty much instantaneous. Like as far as the experience for the mobile worker, once they open it up, if you have task enabled and they're, an assignee, they essentially can see what they have access to as far as the, work that they have, whether that's a polygon, line, or point, right? So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, so there's
Yeah.
no connection between.
Oh. Is it on? There you go.
Okay, so there's no direct connection between the domain of assigned users and the group of users that have access to it?
Yeah, I think there's separate things. Yeah. You're still gonna have to share it, right? Because they are a mobile worker, they're a user type, but then the schema, will still need to be updated. But it's the same way of adding people in groups. Like essentially, with whoever your assignees are, you'll be able to either upload it in bulk or you'll be able to just select their name and add them to the schema, and it'll just add them in there automatically. Yeah, it's part of that assignee table experience when you're adding people. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hopefully, yeah.
I really like what I'm seeing, by the way. 2 questions. What user types is this compatible with?
Yeah. So it's so to create it, you have to be a creator or up. So creator, professional, professional plus is our new user type names. And then if you want to do mobile work to do tasks, it's a mobile worker or up, right? As far as using like the be able to edit. Yeah.
Okay, so I have creator and viewers available, so I would not be able to use that?
You can use it with the creators for sure. Yeah. But if you're for like budgeting or something, if you have a team of people that are only using the mobile app, then you would just purchase mobile workers for them, and then they would use those mobile workers to access the application. That would be my advice if you don't have enough in your ArcGIS Line or your ArcGIS Enterprise. But yeah, that's how I would do it. Is you would be the creator, you create the field maps experience for them, and then when they go to access the app, they would access that via a mobile worker if you don't have other creators to spare within your creators within your ArcGIS Line org. Yeah.
And then I saw the checklist being featured in a lot of those things.
Yeah.
This may be a premature question, but
Yeah.
do you think long-term we might be able to see subtasks where you can check off those things individually?
I think so. Yeah, we got a lot. We did a lot in the last 2 years, but I know that we're gonna have way more releases for field maps just in general with other enhancements to the task layer, but also just in general the field maps in the next year. I think we got a lot done in this release, but there's a lot left to be desired, and I think a lot of it'll be out by next UC, like July of next year, as far as some of the new enhancements. Yeah,
Great.
I think I could see subtasks having. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I assume from what you said that this requires branch versioning and not traditional versioning?
No, it does not require branch versioning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it does support traditional versioning?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, it can use referenced service or a hosted service. Right? So we have hosted feature layers, but also reference services. It's about the schema. So as long as you add the task schema to the reference layer, if you wanted to use the database, you can. Yeah. It does not require branch. Branch is an option, but it's not required to do tasks. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So our team has been just kind of trying to test out and get a feel for the tasks function. One of the biggest issues we've run into is bulk creating and assigning tasks.
Okay.
Essentially, what
Yep.
we've found is that we could bulk add tasks via Pro. Let's say we wanted to clean 600 assets.
Yep.
We were able to add that on Pro, but then we weren't able to assign them
Okay.
on Pro. And then we were able to assign them via the web editor. Do you know if there's any plans to maybe make that a little bit smoother, or are there any integrations we could do at the moment?
Probably. The only thing I would say with Pro, did you assign an assignee value when you bulk updated them? That's the only thing I could think of. So if you're going to assign them to somebody, because it's a table, if you assign, you say, okay, we created 600 new assignments and we needed to give that to Tom, you would have to make sure that Tom's the assignee and the value for those assignments. I think it would work, but I'd have to go look at it. We could follow up after this and see. But I was sure if the bulk's not working, we can definitely look into it and see. I would assume if the bulk's not there in the field maps designer, that will improve bulk over time as we get more and more feedback from users. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then if it's okay.
I have a question about basically push notifications.
Yeah.
I know that you can see like the task and like the taskbar, but is there like a way where like you can get like push notifications for like a person saying like, oh, hey, like this was like assigned to me?
Yeah.
Or is there like another like say for instance like Power Automate where we have to use that in order to get those updates, to have them receive those updates?
I think the notifications usually say, hey, you have a work assigned to you, or you're close to the work, right? So we have geofencing, which notifies you if you're close or you're within proximity of where you're trying to go. Usually whether you're routing with a routing tool like Google Maps or whatever through the field mapping application, or you're starting to get close to the asset, it will notify you that you're within the geofence. The other one is notifying, like, if somebody's assigned a task to you. I know that that's working. I've heard some people, I had some conversations earlier that it was buggy or like it was delayed. So I'd assume that's probably due to, one, we just came out with it, so I would assume we're having some bugginess with some of the enhancements. So I think the notifications, I heard it was getting delayed. So that could be either an interconnection or there is something on our back end that's not notifying in time. But I think it depends on what you're trying to notify. You absolutely could use Power Automate to notify somebody. It wouldn't be within our app. Our app's going to notify based off the Esri system. So it's going to send a notification. It's going to be that, notification bar or the tab to say, hey, this is what's going on. It's not a messaging system, but if you needed to notify something, you absolutely could use Power Automate and go, like, we have tools that go directly to the feature service. And if that feature service changes, it will then can run a script to say, okay, go send that person a text or send that person a Teams message that they need to do X, Y, and Z. So it's totally possible. It would just be leveraging something like Power Automate or again, a third-party vendor back-end tool like that would allow you to use other communication systems, which I think is pretty common. We all use Teams, or most people use Teams, so like being able to communicate on Teams is a good way, or being able to get an email or text, depending on what your system is valuable. So those are definitely options. It's just outside of the Esri thing, as far as notifications.
Kind of like a follow-up question to that. Is there like maybe like in the future, like maybe say for instance, like, oh, hey, like I have like 5 hydrants within a certain area that I want this specific person to maintain. But instead of like 5 notifications, could there be like one bulk notification?
Yeah.
So they don't get bogged by
That's a
all
good
of
enhancement.
these?
Yeah, I could see that us adding that. Yeah, I think that's more of functionality to be added and enhanced within the notification system for us. Right now, I think it would be one by one because it's essentially allocating one notification per asset. But yeah, I could see us enhancing that. That's a good enhancement. We could submit that to the product team.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? There is no questions from online.
Good. Awesome. Thank you.